does it feel like to be part of the MCU? What did it feel like when you put your costume on for the first time?
Being part of the MCU, honestly, is still kind of a bit surreal. I think just because I was a fan of the Guardians films specifically, first and foremost, and from the outside looking in, it was this kind of big, scary spectacle. And then it was a really lovely surprise to come in and be welcomed with such open arms, and then discover that, the big, scary spectacle, and then to discover that that kind of, big, scary spectacle is actually, a set full of lovely people who have so much fun, while they're working, was a really, really lovely surprise. And putting on the costume for the first time really did kind of bring, the feeling that I was part of the MCU home. While it's still seeping in right now, I guess that was the real start of the journey, and certainly a massive part of, feeling like the character. And I mean, our costume team are so insanely talented, and there are so many people that make up the costume department, and they did such a incredible job. So I'm really grateful to have collaborated with them.
Your character, Adam Warlock, originated in Marvel comic books. Did you research him in the comics, and what kind of discussions did you have with James Gunn about your character?
I was really fortunate when it came to playing Adam Warlock that obviously the character is sort of pre-established, and given that he appears in the comics, there is kind of immediate sort of research material available to you. Of course, he's teased in the second movie, but the fact that he first appears, I think, in I don't know what edition it is, but my agent was kind enough to get me a first edition of an Adam Warlock comic, so I have that in my house somewhere. But being able to read that among other comics that he appears in, and reading about also some of the kind of fan fiction around Adam Warlock was really, really helpful. The internet was a really great provider in that sense as well. So between the comic and what the fans had produced online, a lot of my research was done for me, and then it became about kind of collaborating with James and having our two visions align over who Adam would be. And we settled on this idea of this being his kind of introduction, obviously, and the portrayal of the character in his infancy, as a kind of young person entering the world, trying to sort of carve out, the sort of person that he wanted to be, and what side of the line he wanted to stand on as far as good and evil is concerned.
As you touched on, Adam Warlock is more like a child than an adult. As an actor, how did you approach bringing a childlike quality to him, and what was the most challenging aspect of that?
Yeah, I think playing the kind of childlike aspects of Adam's characteristics, just allows you to kind of return to that kind of imagination-led sort of childlike fun that I think, is how I kind of got into acting, and to a degree how we all kind of engage with acting. I think, in some ways it's a psychological process, so you have to sort of think about, the formation of your characters, I think, from a kind of childlike starting point. So it was not a foreign concept to me preparing for the role. I think it's something I think about with all my roles. But playing the childlike qualities of Adam was fun. I think that's where a lot of the humor lied. And then I think it was about trying to manage, in a relatively short period of time, a kind of maturity arc, even in the context of this first movie, where, through his contact with various people and through various experiences in the film, he matures over time.
What was it like working with the established cast? Was it helpful to have your process with them around?
Massive. I mean, invaluable, honestly, to have people as experienced as the, Guardians Legacy cast are, offering you advice and, helping you out, and being able to speak to, really particular things about what it's like to shoot movies of this nature was huge for me as a young actor coming in and being the new guy. I really, really lent on them. Chris, especially from day one, was so supportive, and was in every sense a leader and a role model on set. So I was really grateful for him in particular. But everyone was fantastic to me, honestly, and they really kind of made me feel part of the group while we were shooting.
How did the practical sets inform your acting?
I don't know if I've ever been on a film with more impressive practical sets than this. Just amazing. I think the assumption is that there's a lot of green screen. You're doing kind of virtually everything against a blue screen or a green screen. And I got to say, it's wild to be in scenes of this nature and have sometimes 90% of the world around you kind of practically there, physically there. And, the way the camera team kind of embed themselves into that set and kind of sort of blend in. You can really immerse yourself in those worlds. And, our art department are just nuts talented. It really blew my mind. And it's kind of hard to not sort of have it take you out, at least initially, because you're kind of marveling at how incredible each set is, but you've got to, switch off. I guess in Adam Warlock's world, it's like, it's the bathroom or it's the kitchen or it's the, don't stare at it all in wonderment, but it eventually becomes something that just helps you lose yourself in any given scene and feel more like the character. And every department are kind of pulling to try and achieve the same goal, and it makes my job in the acting department much easier.
And what was it like to work with director James Gunn?
So amazing. I mean, he's so talented in so many ways. I think James, as a writer, a director, a producer, he's kind of unlike anyone I've come across. Don't think I've ever seen anyone with such a kind of realized and confident vision of what they want, in advance of trying to kind of execute it. He storyboards the whole movie well before we get to set. He's got the playlist, the soundtrack, I should say, sorted before, maybe even the script is fully finalized. His process makes for, I think, not just a really, really sort of successful outcome, but a really fun experience too. And he surrounds himself with really wonderful people. It's a prime example of the fact that you can make a movie on a certain scale under a certain amount of pressure at a certain level without compromising on the experience for the people who you're working with and the well-being of those people. I think he really cares about people having a good time and people being taken care of in the process. And that shouldn't be overlooked. I think that's a really valuable quality that he brings to his movies.
What can audiences look forward to when they see this film?
I think audiences can probably look forward to one of the most kind of balanced films in the Marvel universe that I've seen, as far as its blend of kind of, sentimentality and I suppose just pathos and emotion with comedy. It really is a laugh and cry movie with so many twists and turns and subversions of expectations. And there are just some amazing performances in this on the drama and the comedy side. That's what I was really struck by, when I watched it recently for the first time. It's just chock full of incredible performances.
Lastly, if you could describe Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 in one word, what would it be and why?
I think if I had to describe Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 in one word, it would be climactic. It really does feel like the perfect kind of crescendo to what has been, a 10-year journey, over a 10-year journey for, James and the original cast. And it's a wonderful send-off to some characters and a brilliant tribute to, I think, the unique qualities of this really zany, weird, and heartfelt, trilogy of films. It's kind of the perfect last note.